And welcome back. I'm Tara Spiger, and this month I am reading as much as I can of Jane Austen, including a biography of her, and I'm watching some of the better translations of her work. In this video, it is Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, her first two published novels, along with some of their adaptations. It's about 7:30, and I am finally sitting down to start Jane Austen today. But I found all of her books are available in podcast form. By 3 different places are making podcasts of Jane Austen's work. Like each chapter is an episode. I downloaded the first chapter of Sense and Sensibility from all of those to see if I could find my favorite, and then that way I can just listen in the car, which is going to be great. So I'm about to crack open Sense and Sensibility for the first time ever. I'm so glad I'm starting to read along with a book that's new to me, because I just have all the excitement of a new book. So it is March 2nd, and I am already 7 chapters into Sense and Sensibility. I love it so much. It is so great. It is surprisingly funny. One of the funniest bits in the first chapter is that the son gets left everything, and the father is sad about this on his deathbed, and so he asks the son, please make sure to look after your mother, his stepmother, and your sisters. And he says in himself, okay, what I'll do is I'll give them £1,000 a year each. And then after talking to his wife, who's not such a great person, they have this whole conversation where basically he talks himself. She helps him talk himself down into not owing the girls anything, and it would actually be far better for them because they would learn to live within their means if instead I just occasionally give them a gift of £50. So Sense and Sensibility is totally new to me. I've never read it before. This is my first time reading it, but when I read Jane Austen as a teenager, I think I missed a lot of the funniness because I was tied up in making sure I understood the language. I remember thinking about Pride and Prejudice. It's awfully modern for being as old as it is. Not the language, but the sensibility of it, the feeling of it is awfully modern. And Sense and Sensibility is the same way. It's very funny. And it's not like you have to have a huge understanding of Regency culture in order to find it funny. She writes it right in there funny, which I appreciate. So I haven't had a reason until now. I'm in the school pickup line to listen to the audiobooks, and I'm about to start as soon as I'm done recording with y'all. And I've tested them all, and I've decided on the Librivox, read by Karen Savage, is my favorite so far. I have just finished volume 1 of Sense and Sensibility. Well, I went back and forth between listening to the Librivox recording on my podcast app on 1.5 speed and actually reading it. I have actually felt more like reading it than listening to it. I can take greater joy in the language when I'm reading it than when I'm just listening. There's something more pleasurable about reading. I'm curious to know if you guys feel the same way. Do you feel greater pleasure in a good book when you read it than when you listen to it? Finish volume 1. At this point, they're both suffering a heartbreak. A pretty serious heartbreak. I cannot say enough how much I'm enjoying reading it and just enjoying the tone and the little bits of humor. I'm hoping to finish it by this weekend so I can watch both the BBC miniseries, which just came in for me at the library, and the Emma Thompson movie version. Okay, so I'm listening to chapter 43 on audiobook while I'm washing dishes, and I'm starting to get worried. Marianne is sick, and I'm where is this book going? I expected a engagement or something. I'm getting a little worried. Hey, so it's Sunday night, and I finished Sense and Sensibility yesterday on Saturday. It was so good. I still wasn't entirely sure how it was going to resolve in that way until almost the end. It's so funny though. Once it resolves, it's 2 pages of yep, okay, that's it. So the twist happens, there's a misunderstanding, and then the twist happens, and then the book ends. Which is great. So good, so enjoyable. The complete delight, except for I did find my emails got much more formal. All my emails your eternal friend, or yours an eternal friendship, or something like that. So it's in my head already, and I've only read 1 book. I can't wait to see what it's like after I've read 5 or 6. So I also started the BBC Sense and Sensibility this afternoon while the girls were out. That is sticking very closely to the book, like extremely closely. I recognize some of the dialogue. It's not as like lushly produced as the BBC's Pride and Prejudice, but it's like spot on. It's only 3 hours. I'm already an hour into it, and it's quite enjoyable. The actors are all perfectly fine. I've already downloaded the first several chapters of the Librivox audiobook of Pride and Prejudice so that I can start that even before I can sit down to read it. Since I've read it so many times, I'm thinking I might read most of it on audiobook this time when I'm in the car running errands. I've been listening to Pride and Prejudice on Librivox's podcast recording, and it is great. I've done the entire thing on podcast so far, and it's been really great because I've had to travel for work. The COVID-19 coronavirus kind of self-quarantine period really kicked into high gear. More and more things were canceled. So all court cases were canceled till the end of the month. The classes I teach for foster parents were canceled. So the audiobook is great. It's something to do that, like, I actually don't have to have the focus of reading, but yet it keeps me entertained, keeps like my brain off other things. And I'll be honest, I've done way less reading this week than I have. I mean, just way less reading because I'm anxiety scrolling. For Sense and Sensibility, I was going to watch the BBC and the Emma Thompson movie. I haven't felt like finishing that BBC Sensibility. I started the second episode, like the second hour of it, and I just was like, it's not that great. It's not like keeping me. I think maybe because I just read the book, I'm less interested in watching the story again. The book was quite enjoyable, but I do have the Emma Thompson movie from the library. I'm going to probably watch that tonight. So we'll see how I feel about that. It is Sunday night after the first 2 weeks of the Jane Austen readathon, and I'm talking kind of quiet. And we just watched Sense and Sensibility with Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet, and it was everything I ever wanted from Sense and Sensibility. I feel like I understood the movie better because I had read the book. There was definitely some parts that they left out that were not as clear in the movie as they were in the book. So I'm glad I read before I watched, but it was so beautiful, and the scenery is so beautiful, and it was so amazingly adapted. The screenplay is actually written by Emma Thompson. She did an amazing job. It has that Alan Rickman in it, which was a delight to see. Of course, Hugh Grant being his most charming maybe ever. So that finishes up my adaptations of Sense and Sensibility now, and I'm about third of the way through Pride and Prejudice. We're going to leave the vlog there. We will talk more about finishing Pride and Prejudice, the BBC Pride and Prejudice, and I still have Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, and Emma up to watch along with the new Emma movie. So I think I'm going to skip ahead after Pride and Prejudice and read Emma so I can catch that while it's still in the theaters. But tell me, what is your favorite adaptation, or have you seen the new Emma movie? If you're not already, make sure you're following me on Instagram for daily updates on what I'm reading and how we're all surviving this time to snuggle in at home. And I will see you over there.